Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Milligram TV News. This is Fuzia Dawal with today's top stories. Republicans round on Donald Trump and Obama Muslims row. George Osborne to push for new era in UK-China relations. Cuba smartened up for Pope Francis' visit. Migrant crisis, new routes sought amid impasse in Balkans. Putin and Berlusconi in crime wine row. Rugby World Cup 2015, who's going to win? Who will shine? Now the details. The businessman who is the fortuner for the Republican Commission for President has been strongly criticized by two of his Republican rivals. South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham said Mr. Trump acted improperly and he should apologize. Mr. Trump has challenged his appearance at a big Republican event on Friday. His campaign team said he was pulling out of the Heritage Foundation because of a significant business transaction that needed his attention. The criticism has been piling up since, as a man at Mr. Trump's rally in New Hampshire on Thursday night preferred a question by saying Mr. Obama was a Muslim and not even an American. The supporter went on to say, "We have a problem in this country, as called Muslims." Mr. Trump let it go unchallenged, and within a few hours, Democratic frontier Hillary Clinton said his futile and denounced hateful rhetoric was disturbing and wrong, and on Friday his Republican competitors for the nomination waded into the row. Mr. Osborne, who will be accompanied by business leaders and ministers, wants to foster a new era in UK-China relations, the Treasury said. His visit, beginning on Sunday, takes him to Beijing, Shanghai, and Chengdu. China is the world's second largest economy, but there is growing evidence that it is losing steam. Speaking ahead of the seventh trip, the Chancellor said the delegation was about exploring new opportunities to open up new markets. It comes ahead of a state visit to the UK by Chinese President Xi Jinping in October, the first by a Chinese leader for 10 years. Mr. Osborne met China's Vice Premier Liu Yangdong in Downing Street on Friday. In preparation for the trip, the senior Chinese minister also had talks with Prime Minister David Cameron and Foreign Secretary Philip Hammond on promoting closer links between the UK and China. Mr. Osborne said, "I want us to forge closer economic and cultural links with China. Our partnership for growth, reform, and innovation is helping to deliver record levels of investment and trade in both directions, but there is much more we can do." This trip is all about exploring new opportunities to open up new markets to benefit both economies. The centerpiece of Mr. Osborne's visit will be the UK-China economic and financial dialogue in Beijing. Accompanying him will be Treasury Minister Lord O'Neill, Business Secretary Sajid Javid, and Energy Secretary Amber Rudd. Mr. Osborne is also going to promote his plans for a Northern Pohazar in England, taking with him a delegation of senior business and local government figures, including Liverpool Mayor Joe Anderson and Manchester City Council leader Sir Richard Lees. Streets are being newly paved in Havana and the cathedral is being revamped. On the city's iconic Revelation Square, where Pope Francis will celebrate a Mass on Sunday, workers have been building a huge altar and stones for the Consecration and Chair. Pope Francis will spend 4 days in Cuba before flying to the U.S. on his first visits to both countries. Similar makeovers are taking place in other Cuban cities on the Pope's initiative. Workers in Havana have relayed the cobbled streets where the Pope mobile will pass and have urged the traffic lights. The airport terminal where the Pope will arrive has also been renovated. In the city of Holguin, where the Pope will celebrate Mass on Monday, The chandel has been repaired and repainted. Officials said nearly 1,000 Cuban and foreign journalists are expected to cover the visit. Slovenian police used pepper spray on Friday night to disperse a group trying to cross from Croatia. Hungary meanwhile accused Croatia of breaking international law after asylum seekers were sent over the border without first being registered. The EU, which is divided on the crisis, is to hold emergency talks next week. Overnight, thousands of migrants trying to pass through the Balkans to reach northern EU states spent the night at railway stations or sleeping alongside. But as controls have got tighter, many have strayed from transport routes, walking through fields to reach borders. In a day of chaos of confusion on Friday, people were shunted from one border to another as governments remained split over how to handle the crisis. The Russian president and former Italian premier spent last weekend in Crimea touring Asian roads. Prosecutors say they drank at Crimea's ruined Masandra winery. Masandra was Ukrainian government property before Russian annexation of Crimea in March 2014. Any charges could not currently be purged in Crimea, where Russia has full control. Russian media created by Radio Free Europe reported, and Bulskarino asked if he could sample the wine during a tour on Masandra. A witness said Masandra's new pro-Russian director Yania Pelvenko, in response, uncorked a precious bottle of 1,775 Juras Dilla furniture for her prestigious guests. Russian television last week showed Mr. Berlusuisi carefully surveying dust-covered bottles of wine while the Russian leader stared to Vypovskino as she gave them a tour. Later, the Italian balance is seen looking at a bottle defined to be from the vintage of 1891 and asked in English, "Is it possible to drink?" The director replied, "Yes." Viewers, we will take a short break with the headlines here. Syria crisis, deadly air raids against IS in Palmyra. Israel steps up Jerusalem security after Palestinian clashes. Japan to allow military role overseas in historic move. Bangladesh student to speak against child marriage at UNGA. Let's move to the next news. About 25-year strikes left at least 26 people dead, including 12 militants, the UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said. It captured Palmyra, which includes a UNESCO World Heritage Site, in May. Elsewhere, air strikes on Idlib killed 70 people, the observatory said. The city of Idlib is a stronghold of alliance of jihadist Islamist group calling itself the Army of Conquest. Syrian military sources quoted by Reuters have said Syria is using new types of very accurate weapons supplied by its ally Russia. Earlier on Friday, the US and Russian defense ministers spoke by phone for the first time in more than a year to discuss the crisis. Much of the tension has focused on the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, a hugely important site in Islam and Judaism. The militant Palestinian Islamist movement Hamas had called for a day of rage over Al-Aqsa. Palestinians have also been angered by Israeli planes which could allow police to open fire on stone throwers. An Israeli motorist died earlier in the week in an accident apparently caused by a rock-throwing attack in Jerusalem. Several security incidents were reported on Friday. The Al-Aqsa Mosque compound itself was reported to be cute. Israeli police setting up checkpoints towards the site and limiting the age of worshippers to 40 and above for men. The compound, known to Jews as the Temple Mount and the Muslims as Al-Haram al-Sharif, is the holiest site in Judaism and contains Al-Aqsa Mosque, the third holiest site in Islam. Tensions have been running high in Jerusalem since Israel burned two Muslim groups which confront Jewish visitors to the compound. A vote on the new law was delayed for several hours as the opposition tried to stop the measure coming into the force. Outside, demonstrators railed in a last-ditch show of protest. Many Japanese are attached to the perceived provisions in the constitution which banned fighting overseas. The bills have already passed through the government-dominated lower house. The government says that the changes in defense policy are vital to meet new military changes such as those posed from a rising China. It wanted to hold the vote before a 5-day holiday begins on Saturday. The governing coalition has a majority in both chambers of the Diet, meaning that ultimately the opposition champ was powerless to stop the measure becoming law. Maski Yamzi, the president of the upper house, said the bills were passed with 148 lawmakers voting in support and 90 against. More than 200 hours have been spent deliberating the legislation, the Japan Times reported, and its approval by parliament fulfills one of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's long-held ambitions. Thursday, opposition politicians tried to physically delay proceedings ahead of a committee vote on the bills. India's tourism minister Mahesh Sharma has unveiled a 375 kg laddu to celebrate Prime Minister Narendra Modi's birthday. The international sweets made from flour, ghee and sugar are often consumed at celebrations and festivals. The significance of the weight of the sweet is as yet unknown. The sweet was unveiled as part of a function by Sensation Company, which is celebrating Mr. Modi's birthday as Swachh Divas. This is, however, not the strangest birthday gift received by the Indian Prime Minister. In 2013, before they became Prime Minister, Bollywood actress Malaika Sherawat sang a sultry happy birthday to Mr. Modi, Marilyn Monroe style. Moni Begum from Bangladesh will be attending United Nations General Assembly 722 advocate for ending child marriage and improving access to health care for every mother and child. Moni Begum comes from Kalwara, a small town in Moulvibajar, Sylhet. In this forum, she will meet national and international delegates from all over the world, including UN representatives, civil society representatives, and government officials from Bangladesh. She will meet 19 other child delegates from across the globe. The facts of child marriage is multi-dimensional and is causing adverse effects to the brides, the mothers, the families, and thus the nation. The ill effects of child marriage remain unchanged as it causes teenage predators, maternal and newborn deaths, and malnutrition, school dropouts, undetected mothers, domestic violence, and finally a loss of the social capital. Moni will advocate for a change by stopping child marriage. She believes that Bangladesh will flourish when everyone gets an equal opportunity to grow and contribute to our society. At the UNGA, Moni Begum will place demands for access to health care and health workers within the reach of every mother and child. Child delivery and care should take place only in the healthcare facility centers and nowhere else. Moni's interest also lies with preventable diseases such as pneumonia and diarrhea. Viewers, now the business news. The flotation could give the company a market value of nearly $4 billion and push into the FTSE 100 index on the largest UK-listed firms. The company says it processes about 31 million transactions a day on mobiles, online and in stores. WorldPay said it would use the money raised from the flotation to reduce debts. In 2014, the company's revenues were $863 per m, with underlying gains of $374.7 m. WorldPay is currently owned by two private inquiry firms, Advent International and Bain Capital, who bought the company from Royal Bank of Scotland in 2010 for $1.7 million. WorldPay has been transformed into a global leader in payments since it became an independent company in 2010, said WorldPay Chief Executive Philip Jansen. The IPO is an exciting and logical next step as we seek to continue this momentum. It will enable us to access new capital for growth, augment our global proposition, and further enhance our ability to serve customers across the world. There were reports earlier in the week that WorldPay and received a takeover approach from French company Indico. Shares in Indigeno were up more than 7% in Paris on news of upwards flotation plans. The Fed had cited concerns about weakening global growth and reset the stock market volatility. The FTSE 100 fell 1.34%, Frankfurt's DAX plunged 3.06%, and in Paris, the CAC 40 dropped 2.56%. On Wall Street, the stocks were sharply lower, with the Dow Jones down nearly 1% in morning trading. Brenda Kelly, head analyst at London Capital Group, said markets have taken cues from the US, but uncontrolled provincial and Japanese in only certain result. Deflation is a concern. China is a concern, and oil prices look set to take another leg lower. Some analysts said the Fed could still raise rates this year. The Fed's assessment of the global economic conditions has made investors nervous as uncertainty about the timing of a US rate hike countries. We think that a rate hike could still be announced in December, said Robert Parks, equity strategic at HSBC. But Michael Hudson, chief strategic at CMC Markets, said the Fed's rather downbeat outlook came as a welcome surprise, and it's likely to take a while for investors to figure out whether the Fed is seeing something that the rest of us aren't. Viewers, now the sports news. But who will be crowned champions and who will take the breath away? Are defending champions New Zealand overwhelming favorites? Will host England survive the so-called group of death? The 39-year-old American, winner of the 14 majors, had an operation on Wednesday and is hoping to return to playing in early 2016. Viewers, let's have a look. Millennium TV News Recap. Republicans round on Donald Trump and Obama Muslims row. George Osborne to push for new era in UK-China relations. Cuba smartened up for Pope Francis' visit. Migrant crisis, new routes sought amid impasse in Balkans. Putin and Berlusconi in crime wine row. Rugby World Cup 2015, who's going to win? Who will shine? Dear viewers, you're up to date with our top stories so far here on Millennium TV, and don't forget to log in www.millenniumtv.net. Thank you and stay with Millennium TV. Allah Hafiz.